As Brazilian, not so easy.
No, actually, you're doing very well.
Okay, thank you very much. Is that okay? Well, my friends from Critica Nacional, I am here in Hungary. We keep our trip here in Hungary, in Budapest. I am now I'm going to talk to Mr. Attila Bodnar, who is the manager and the co-founder of a company named Organica, which is a wastewater treatment company that has innovated and created a very specific and different system of wastewater that Mr. Bodnar will explain to us. Mr. P, first of all, thank you for receiving us here. Nice to meet you here. First of all, what is Organica? What does it do? Essentially, for our broader audience, what would you say, please?
So, the company was established 20 years ago with the vision that the urban water cycle, the solution of urban water needs, has to have a new solution. The underlying problem that we recognized back then was that we built wastewater treatment plants outside the cities, very far from the cities, because they are large and ugly and nobody wants to live next to them. So we figured that a new solution needs to be developed, something that is much smaller and much more efficient and also beautiful. And that's exactly what we did. We built a small, efficient wastewater treatment plant in which, in addition to efficient wastewater treatment technology, we also use the forces of nature and also architecture. So the water is treated by a lot of organisms, not only the relatively limited number of organisms you will find in a traditional treatment plant. In our treatment plants, in addition to the plants, there are thousands of species that participate in the cleaning of the water.
Exactly. As your engineer and your staff people have explained to me here, the core idea of the system that they use is the following. You have plants that generate by itself bacteria. Then you develop a system where the environment for these plants is improved so that the production of bacteria increases. Then these bacteria are then pocketed somehow, let's say, and then it's put in a place where the wastewater comes, it's cleaned and then come back for use again for a closed cycle. It's essentially that.
It's close.
Yeah, of course,
it's a very good. I mean, for
overall idea. Of course.
Yeah, you did very well.
Okay.
So there's one additional element that I would like to highlight. That because we use the plants are present in our systems because the root zone of the plants provide a habitat for many more kinds of organisms, not only bacteria, but higher level of organisms as well. So in our systems, just like in nature, there are specialized ecosystems that consume the contaminants in the water. For all these organisms, the contamination in the water is actually food.
Exactly.
So what you find in an Organica plant is a series of engineered ecosystems that are designed so that the living organisms that live in the reactors consume the contamination use that as food for their survival.
Oh, great. You want the impact for the human around. All right. What's the difference from the point of view of a common person? Let's say, if you are in a place where you have such type of water treatment system in your neighborhood, or even near your building, for a standard one. What's the main difference to all of us? What would you people prefer to use this system instead of the standard ones.
Yeah. So the analogy, I will use an analogy to show you the difference. And the analogy is that of the outhouse. Like, the loo, the outhouse, outside the garden, it's ugly, smelly, disgusting. Right? So that was the norm 150 years ago. It's still the norm in many parts of the world. But it's also over the last 100 years, we as people and civilization, we evolved, and now we build in new apartments and apartment building and houses, we build beautiful bathrooms. So the loo, the outhouse, was transformed into beautiful bathrooms, and in new apartment buildings, the bathroom, including the toilet, is within a few meters of the kitchen. And it's normal. You find that you probably live in an apartment, and probably your kitchen is a few meters from your bathroom. It's totally okay. Now, what we do the same thing with wastewater treatment. So our facilities, an Organica plant is actually a botanical garden that is beautiful, and it doesn't smell, and it's very small, and it's designed to fit into the residential and commercial areas of a city. It's a new type of building, as it were, okay, that meets all the requirements they would expect from anything that's in the middle of the city. That's basically what we do.
Okay, the system, I suppose, it works in a large scale. This is the following sense. Today, I give an example, my city, São Paulo, Brazil. We have a company that makes the water treatment, of course, but the stations, the facilities where the treatment is where the water is treated, they are separated place, huge places, complex systems, and so on and so on. Then the water is piped in. Then the treated water is piped to be used by the population. I understand, if I'm wrong, correct me, of course, that your system it operates at a local level. Let's say you have a plant here that will supply that will receive the wastewater of the neighborhood or of that building specific, and will treat this water and supply again, but for this neighborhood around. Is that local one system?
So that is the ideal scenario. We do have systems which does that, not on the building level, but on the neighborhood level. A few blocks, or 10, 20, 30,000 people, or 1 million people. So our solution covers the whole spectrum of size.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that in the future, I'm talking about 50 years from now, because of the need to recycle water, more and more of this neighborhood scale water recycling centers will be built. But today there are a lot of so-called centralized wastewater treatment plants where the treatment capacity needs to be improved, or the treatment plants were used to be built outside the cities, now as a result of urban sprawl are surrounded by residential areas now. And people are upset that there is this ugly, smutty thing, next to their apartments.
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, more than half of our jobs are actually these old plants that clients come to us and say, I have this thing, I have demonstrations by the residents around my plants, and I either have to take this down and move it out again outside the city, or maybe I can use your system, the Organica system, in which they can retrofit that, put the greenhouse, put in all the plants, and make the changes necessary for it to be acceptable for the neighbors. And that's also what we do. So my answer to your question is, like, the future is more neighborhood-sized plants, but it will take decades to get there. Okay. And in the meantime, we are taking these existing plants and converting into beautiful plants as well.
I understand. For instance, another, again in this point, going to this point that I mentioned in my private question. For instance, if you are company where of course, speaking hypothetically, of course, let's say to use the system in a city like São Paulo, whose population is the total population of Hungary, and have an idea, it's about 10 million people approximately. Today, this company would be able to attend that the needs of a city of São Paulo, as an example. Considering that this should be done on a large scale. Right?
Absolutely.
Because we don't have even a cultural behavior in order to put the system in small scale, build neighborhoods. It would be again a large scale in order to treat the water and piping the water to all the users.
So I forgot to mention to you that my background is in architecture. I'm an architect actually. And I did urban planning early in my career, and then I was practicing as an architect in the US. And the reason, I got involved in developing the system because there is basically an urban planning and sustainable urban development need for the system. So I say this as a preface to the answer to your question, which is where and how you build new treatment plants. It very much depends on urban planning considerations. The question of the existing pipes, the road system, the future developments, and all of that. And it is a combination of new plants in new neighborhoods, if there are no pipes yet, or if that particular solution will relieve the loading on an overloaded existing plant. That's one possibility. The other one is the example that I gave you. There are existing plants, they need to be upgraded, capacity needs to be improved. One example, a good example, is that we finished about almost a year ago a treatment plant in Shanghai, China. Shanghai, China has 25 million people. 25 million people.
The population
it's bigger than Sao Paulo, right?
Much bigger, yes.
Much bigger. It's a very well-run city. It's a really very efficiently run city. Both public transportation and public services, amazingly well organized. And we were lucky enough, the mayor of Shanghai came to us, visited one of our plants and said, we can use this in this large city because we have a lot of existing plants that we either have to move out of the city, or maybe we can upgrade them, convert them into a botanical garden, and at the same time increase the treatment capacity. Because when we go in, that's very important, when we go in and we convert a treatment plant, at the same time treatment capacity increases. The water quality gets better. Okay, and that's increasingly a need throughout the world in many, many countries because the environmental regulations are getting stricter and stricter and stricter. So this is exactly what we did in Shanghai. And now, that treatment plant, which is in the middle of a residential area, tens of thousands of people live right to the edge of the treatment plant, is now a beautiful, odorless facility.
Exactly. People around this see a botanical garden.
Exactly. So their attitude changes.
And the behavior changes completely. In terms of Brazil, experts say that in Brazil, the market for the developing market for this area and the water treatment system is estimated something around $3,000 billion. That's a raw estimation, estimative for the market. You are not still operating in Brazil. You have some expectancy the same, depends on government or depends on partnerships with private operators. Or else, what's the prospect for eventually this system to be used in Brazil?
So in many countries, and Brazil would be one of those, we work only after we find an appropriate partner.
Okay.
So we are a technology provider. We know how to design these, we put it together, we supply certain key components, and then we help with what's called the commissioning and putting into up and helping the up and run, and then we also help in the operations in order to save energy. But we don't, we don't go in and sign a contract with the wastewater treatment plant operator. Somebody local has to be, that company who knows the rules, who has the people, who has the workers, and all of that. And that's a typical. This is how we work in other parts of the world, from South Africa to the Middle East, in many. There are 109 organic plants around the world. Okay, so the fact that there is none yet in Brazil doesn't mean anything. It's a very well established, technology. So basically, when we will find the right partner, the local partner who is present and knows how to understands wastewater treatment in general, then we will team up with them, and that's how the technology is going to be introduced into Brazil.
Okay. I'll ask you a question. There is a very dramatic example of a bad very bad water management system that was in Johannesburg, I think. And when during a certain time, the Johannesburg, I think, yes, South Africa, when at a certain point, the water supply simply collapsed.
Oh, Cape Town. This is
Cape Town. Sorry, not Johannesburg, Cape Town.
Cape Town.
I remember to have read that in newspapers and so on.
Yeah.
An example of a system, a system run by the government,
sure.
but simply went to collapse. Or the population at a certain point, it simply had no more available water from treated water. How do you see that? That's a dramatic situation, but it, of course, it affected the lives of millions of people.
Absolutely. So basically, I view it from a little bit higher perspective.
Exactly.
And the way I look at it is that, we people, including the officials and the regulators and, everybody, has been doing business as it used to be. But the concentration of urban population is getting so high that the old rules no longer apply. We keep doing things the old way, but that leads to crises. Right? Exactly. And the problem, like in Cape Town, for example, that there was a series of years and years of drought, and there was no more water in the reservoirs. Okay, so what do we do now? Now we run out of water, and this happens in many parts of the world, and it will hit crisis mode in many parts of the world. So. And one of the direct consequences that as officials are looking for water supply for the tens of millions of people they have to supply with water, they realize that the reservoirs are empty because, no rain because the climate is changing. The rivers are dry. The groundwater is depleted. Literally, that's what's happening. And they find that the most reliable source of water, or one of the important sources of water, is actually in the wastewater treatment plants. That's striking because first of all, it's disgusting, right? So this is what we see. This is our first reaction. That's my water supply. But that means, okay, it's water. I need to clean it. I need to be able to recycle because there's no other way. There are many parts of the world where they came to that realization there's no other way, but we have to recycle the water because we can't provide water for the population. There are entire provinces with hundreds of millions of people in China, for example, where developers are mandated to build every new building with two pipes. One is for drinking water, and the other one is for recycled water. Okay? There's no question. That's what they have to do. Otherwise, there's no building permit. So it's not like, we have a green project, so let's do two pipes. No. Every building has to have two pipes because there's no water, there's not enough drinking water to wash the toilet and to wash the floor and wash the dish, to do the laundry and all of that. In an urban area, people, I don't know the numbers in Brazil, but let's say in Europe, everybody uses roughly around 150 liters a person a day. 150 liters a person a day, okay? but we consume, maybe if we are very diligent, maybe we drink 2 liters of water a day.
Exactly.
Right? And maybe use another 5 liters for, cooking. That's a lot of water already, right?
Exactly.
Okay? But the rest, 140 liters or so, is for stuff that doesn't make it into our bodies. We flush the toilet, we clean the floor, we clean the stuff. There's a lot of things that we use water. So there's a tremendous room for recycling water. Okay? To use recycled water. Because, the water that's being recycled is super, super clean, by the way. Okay? But, we have reasons that we don't want to drink it. That's fine. Okay? But there's tremendous room for recycling.
Most of the water is
It's not drinking water, and it's not drinking another.
Well, we do that in Brazil, for instance. We use in some particular in São Paulo, I think Rio de Janeiro too, or in other big cities. Most of the water, of course, is treated water, but not for drinking. People don't drink.
That's fine.
There's a huge market in Brazil for water in bottles. We call mineral water. We call mineral water because people don't drink that water. That one's for other use. Well, Mr. I will thank you very much. I would like to thank you very much. I think we could give here a very overall idea of your system, of your company, what you do. I think the idea here was to show for the Brazilian audience as a very innovative system that, which is a very important point, the possibility of have treatment water system at the nearby, at the neighborhood, that essentially works on the idea of cycling all the time for the non-drinking water, and perhaps that's something that in the near future may go to Brazil. I think that of course depends on you and your partners there, but perhaps it's possible. I want to thank you for the talks, and thank you also for the Crítica Nacional audience for that. I hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have done.